Trail Hero 2023. That was kind of cool to look up, see a helicopter watching everybody playing around on the rocks. This guy here in this vehicle, it was bouncing around pretty good trying to come up the chute. He got up it. From the looks of it, he's had that thing in a lot of places. It's a little more bouncier than I like, but hey, he's having a good time. Looks like they were just married. Glad to see him out there. That was more wiggling than I wanted. But sometimes when you get off just a little bit, you gotta do whatever to finish getting up. And he did. I like the concave in the bottom of this because it gets up on the sidewalls of your tires and you get all kinds of traction in there. This is a chute. A lot of people do this. You see a lot of videos out there and usually there's no problems. But if something did go wrong, it could go really bad in a hurry. You could end up back at the bottom on your top. This is the obstacle right after the chute. It doesn't look that bad when you come up to it, but it's got a couple of divots that the rear tires end up in right at the same time the front tires hit the wall, and it, depending on your wheelbase, sometimes it can be really tough to get over. And then the longer wheelbases get up over it, but then you can high center. You can see I high centered here, kind of wiggled my rear steer around trying to get over it. I wasn't high centered bad. I was sitting on my rockers. I just backed up and give it a little gas when I got in that spot that looked like my rockers were going to touch again. Another thing I could do is I could stay driver just a little bit more as I go over that. That would keep that side up, and then it would go right over it as well. This is Great American Crawl's vehicle, Nick Ashby. It's a bug they built. I seen it at SEMA last year and really liked the way they did the rear steer on it. Had a good visit with him and kind of patterned the rear steer on this one as far as it's mounted to the axle the same way they did. Some of these rocks are really steep, and I was a little unsure exact what wheelbase I wanted. I ended up with about 124, and I'm glad I did. I've never been sorry I was that long. On my other Jeeps I've been a little shorter, and I always wished maybe they were a little bit longer. But on this steep stuff, it's really nice when the front tires can get up over the edge, because then it just pulls your back end right up over. I'm not an artist. In my younger years, I always wanted to be. I used to draw, but it never looked right. But now, I consider myself a different type of artist. I like how this back end turned out, just how it laid out, the links, the suspension. I think it all turned out pretty cool. Kyle's boy, he's pretty young, but he's getting pretty good in that buggy. Made a new friend down there on the trail, a guy by the name of Max Chase. The more I looked at his buggy, the more I liked it. He done some really cool things on it that people just don't think about. You notice his steering on his axles. On the front axle it's sitting behind the axle, and on the back axle it's sitting in front of the axle, and that protects it so it almost can't get hit by anything. It's just real ingenuitive what he's done there. He's done a lot of time just sitting there staring, looking at things, trying to figure out how to make it better. I spent a lot of time messing around on this obstacle. I probably should have gone driver's side and rode the edge with my left front and left rear tire rather than try and get over where everybody else does. I'm a little bit wider, and I think it would have pulled right up over that obstacle there that prevents people from driving over it. Another day, another time, we'll give it another shot. I would have made it up this obstacle, but I had a little bit of a problem. I was backing off and I hit the brake and my brake pedal went all the way to the floor, and I didn't know what had happened, but the keeper on the end of the brake had come off and it unhooked from the cylinder. So when I hit the brake, there was nothing, and in my messing around there, I grabbed the wires with my right foot and actually unhooked my electronic gas pedal. So when I put it down in drive and tried to hit the gas to give me a little more forward momentum to stop me from rolling back, it wasn't doing anything because there wasn't any RPMs. We finally got stopped, but it was a little crazy for a minute. This is right before that last obstacle we watched when my brake pedal gave me a little bit of an issue. You can see this wall, trying to get up over it creates a little bit of an issue. Some Jeeps that don't have as much articulation creates more of an issue. You can really get tires hanging in the air. You got to get your back end so that it starts to climb that wall and help you up. At the same time, your front's going over. Gets a little tippy. You can see this rig here. This is a really good Jeep, built well. He was struggling on it. When I approached it, I approach things a little bit differently because I can steer into the wall if I need to with my rear steer, so it really doesn't matter where my front is when I hit the obstacle because I can get my back where I want. But you can see how tall that wall is. That's a 42-inch tire, and the wall's taller than the tire. I expected this obstacle to give me a little more problem than it did. The Jeep handled it well. The geometry was just right for this type of an obstacle. Front end went right up over, and then the back end got right on top, and next thing you know, we're sitting on top of it.
Where do I want to go with my back end? Right? Right? Yes. Don't do it if you need it. Yeah. We got plenty of space over here.
This is on the V-notch over on the maze. It looks pretty easy, but you can get yourself in trouble really fast. If there's a breeze, that sand is moving. You can have all kinds of tire tracks out there, and the next day they'll all be gone and the sand will be smooth. Not sure how this little guy survives out there, but he does. Just thought this was a cool shot of an air down tire getting traction. Jeeps are just getting better, tires are getting bigger, axles stronger. I've seen people break drive lines and axles right there on this obstacle. Every now and then a guy does something not really bright. We've got those dumb things we've done we wished we hadn't. I was backing up this obstacle and I got up the first part just fine. I've come down it and climbed it before, but the way I was sitting I thought, oh, I'll just back up it. But I couldn't really see that second obstacle exactly on the top where I needed to be, and I had my back end in the wrong spot and then my front end was in the wrong spot, and before you know it, it gets from kind of bad to really bad in a hurry. But we were pretty lucky all in all. Pretty lucky. You can see that bull bar on the front bumper stopped us from rolling over on our roof. I always put them on for that reason. We're just hanging out. Me and Preston's daughter, she was riding shotgun because the front seat was open. Every now and then we got to do something like this just to show what we got. That's a Rock Slayer suspension called a double triangulated front and rear suspension. And a good Genrite roll bar keeps everything from getting squashed out of shape. We didn't actually touch any of the painted areas on the Jeep that were yellow. We did get our front bumper, a little scratch on it, a scratch on the mirror, a scratch above on the roll bar above the driver's side wheel. We got it up on its tires. Barely hit the starter, make sure we didn't have any oil up on the top of the piston cylinders. We were good. Cranked it, fired right up. That's a chance you take, but we were pretty confident there wasn't any oil on the top. Kept on going. I do like the rear steer setup in this. Instead of everything feeding into one orbital valve, like I've said before, if you do that, if you're turning one end or the other, it starves the other end, so you can only turn one end at a time. With the electric over hydraulic in the rear and the front going through its own orbital, you can turn front and rear simultaneously. It's really fluid, it's just really smooth.